Rise and shine on Australia's Vision Christian Radio.
And it's Monday's podcast, Andy.
It was a good day today,
It
Phil.
was so much fun. We're launching a new disciple-making topic, the idea of go into all the world and preach the gospel. And what a fabulous idea for the week. It's going to be such a God idea.
It is a good idea, Phil, and we're all about to go. We had a really good call today from one of our listeners. We also had some audio from one of the best preachers on Vision. His name is Greg Laurie. So well worth listening to the rest of this podcast today.
And most importantly, we had Jason Gray. You'll be able to hear the full interview with him without songs in between. So he is an incredible singer. We hear him a lot on Vision. You'll hear obviously bits of his songs today. But he's also got a stutter, a really strong stutter, which you can hear while he's doing the interview. And I was just so moved because he didn't stop. You could just see such bravery. As we're talking to him, he would reset the word and obviously use all the tools that he's been given and continue on. But the story he's actually on to talk about is about a kid's story that he's written about a little girl with a stutter. So it's a beautiful story and really important for anyone whose children are suffering from a speech impediment or anything really where bravery is involved.
Yeah, and after today's podcast, I'd encourage you, go onto Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, and look up Jason Gray and listen to his songs after listening to him speak. And it's incredible how when he sings, his voice has no impediments. It's strong and it's clear. It's a gift from God.
It is a gift from God. So that's on today's podcast. Enjoy. Good morning. It's your Monday and you're waking up with Fel and Andy on Rise and Shine. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning, Phil. How are you today?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm great. How's your weekend?
Yeah, wonderful. It was a great weekend. Lots of fun. We got to see Millie play cricket. She got 4 wickets.
Nice.
Which is quite incredible. So, and a couple of them were caught in bowls, which I always think is more impressive. It's like, I don't need the team. I'll just do it all myself. Step aside.
Is Millie a spin bowler, a pace bowler? What's she bowling?
I have no idea. I am just thankful that I can recognise she's actually bowling.
She's rolling the arm over.
Yeah, that's right. She looks great doing it. But there you go. So we did have lots of fun. And we did end up with getting some wedding rings, which we were thinking for our anniversary we weren't going to get in time, but we did.
Oh, you got them. So just putting it out there, everybody, Fel and her husband Murray are celebrating 25 years of marriage tomorrow. She's going to underplay it. I'm going to talk it up, and I'm going to make a big deal out of it. And Fel, I want to talk to you and Murray about that today because it is a milestone. And let's be honest, in our Western civilization, so-called, marriages are getting more and more under the pump, more and more pressure, and it seems harder and harder to stay together. And you guys have stayed together for a quarter of a century, which is amazing.
That is a big effort. No, it's wonderful.
A big effort.
No, I'm just thinking 25 years. When you put it that way, I'm like, God, it's quite a long time. It feels like just yesterday.
So we'll talk about that. We've also got an incredible conversation with Jason Gray.
Oh, yeah, so you might know him from some of these songs. Do you know that one?
Great song.
And this one?
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah, you know that one? That's Jason Gray, and he's got a new kids book that he's releasing, which is amazing. So we're going to have a chat to him about an hour and a half from now.
He's an amazing man. And we're also talking about Go all this week. We're just going to fly everyone up and remind everyone, hey, this is the time for the Great Commission. We all need to go.
Thanks for streaming the Rise and Shine Daily podcast. Please subscribe to the show, rate it on your favourite podcast platform, and share the link on your socials. It all helps get the word out.
And it is a wonderful day today, isn't it, Phil?
Oh, it's the day the Lord has made.
And our thoughts are with all of our Queensland listeners. There is a cyclone hovering off the coast, and we just hope and pray it stays off the coast.
Yes.
It doesn't make landfall. But Phil, our CEO, Phil Edwards, a few weeks ago, let us all know that this is the year of disciple making, and that's going to be our focus at Vision this year.
Yeah, that's right. And so we have been looking at different elements of our faith here on Rise and Shine. We looked at worship, and we've spent a week looking at prayer, encouraging ourselves around that. And this week we've both felt that really a great focus would be on the go, on the Great Commission, where Jesus said, go into all the world, make disciples. And it was such a clear commission from God.
100%. It's our calling. And in America, Phil, Aldi, God bless the Germans, Aldi are sharing the gospel in eggs, aren't they?
That is right. We've got a story here from Christian News telling us that eggs from the supermarket Aldi have gone viral for featuring a Bible verse on their packaging. Gold hen eggs are packed in Indiana and available in US Aldi stores. And inside their cardboard packaging, shoppers have spotted a verse from Psalm 118. It says, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Psalms 118, verse 24, and it's written inside the lid of the carton. So as you're having your eggs, you're rejoicing with God as well.
Yeah, and just to remind our listeners, that's only in America. Yes. Unfortunately, we wish Aldi Australia would do the same, but it just shows America has been more gospel-soaked over the years. It's a way more churchified culture, and they've produced some of the greatest Christian communicators in history, I would say, in the last 200 years. And one of them who's still alive is Greg Laurie, and he featured in that movie, The Jesus Revolution.
Yes.
That movie was kind of about his life story. He's still going strong. He's on Vision all the time. Great communicator. But, I'd love to listen to him, Phil, because he's all about getting people saved as well, sharing your faith and sharing the gospel.
Yeah, that's right. And so on the back of thinking about these eggs and the opportunity that there are really some unique ways of sharing your faith, Greg Laurie has an interesting snippet about a question he was asked.
Hey, I had someone write me on my Facebook page and say, I'm uncomfortable sharing my faith. I've seen other people kind of like bully people, and I don't want to be that guy. I think it's better to just be a good example. Well, listen, we should never bully anyone to believe in Jesus. But at the same time, there comes a point where being an example is not enough. Jesus did not say, go into all the world and be a good example, though we should be one. He said, go into all the world and preach the gospel. See, good news is, news. Would it seem weird if you turn on the news on TV and the anchorman just sat there? No, he's there to do a job. Give the news. We're called by Christ to articulate the message of the gospel, preceded by the good example of a life lived for his glory.
And that was Greg Laurie encouraging us about the need to go and speak and tell people the good news, which is what we can see in those eggs. It's pretty cool when eggs are doing the talking.
It is very cool, but he's so right, because as Christians, we can get into that thing, I'm just being a good example, I'm just shining my light. But there has to be a time when we speak up, step out, and actually reach out to someone and communicate the gospel.
That's right. So this week we are asking you, when or how have you been sharing your faith? We would love to encourage others with your stories by giving us a call on 1-800-316-316.
Or maybe you've been the recipient of someone sharing their faith with you and that led you to Jesus. We just want to hear great stories this week about people going, people telling. And the unsung heroes in these stories, Fel, are always those Christians that aren't leaders, they're not pastors necessarily. This is the average Christian stepping out, taking that risk and just connecting with someone and saying, hey, do you know Jesus?
Yeah, so give us a call, 1-800-316-316. We would love to hear about the go in your life. Coming up next, though, Andy, we've got a smart speaker that we gave away. We're going to tell you how you can be in the draw to win one this week and next week, actually, on Rise and Shine.
Rise and Shine on Vision Christian Radio.
And we're pretty excited still about the new Vision worship stream, Andy.
Yes, it is still going strong 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you're new to Vision, if you go to our website, vision.org.au, or our Vision Christian Media app, it says listen live on there. You've got 4 options, and one of them is worship, and you can listen to worship music every day of every week for the rest of your life, Phil.
Well, that is right. Let's head over and have a little listen to what's happening there right now. So good. So you can just imagine you're home and you need just worship. It's available for you 24/7. Now, over the weekend, we were trying to pop on Vision Worship Stream in the car. I got my husband's phone and I said, you haven't updated the app.
What?
It's not updated,
What?
Buzz. So I had to try and do that for him. He said, I don't know how to do these things. So if you're like my husband and you haven't updated the app, you might not see the Vision Worship Stream yet. So if that's the case, go over to your app store. If it's an Apple, you just type in App Store, find the Vision app, Vision Christian Media app, and press update. As soon as that update comes through, you should then see that 4th option of Vision Worship popping up for you.
Yeah, and thanks to the app, you can listen to the Vision Worship Stream at home, in the car, anywhere you are. You can hear Vision Worship. You can also hear Vision Christian Radio live through the app as well. It is a great little resource, that app.
It sure is. And to celebrate, we are giving away these smart speakers, Echo Pop Alexa smart speakers, 1 a week. We got to give 1 away on Friday to John.
Is that John Bradley on the line?
Yeah.
John Bradley, you are this week's lucky winner of a smart speaker because you entered the draw celebrating the launch of the Vision Christian Worship Stream.
Oh, that's great.
Hey,
Fantastic. Wonderful.
Well done. Now, you won this because you trialled the Vision worship stream. What was your thoughts on the stream?
So I was doing the testing originally through the email link, and I really enjoyed it. The great part I found was that you're able to have the music on without sort of being interrupted by news bulletin ads and that sort of talking. You just have it on the background and just listen to it. I found it really enjoyable, and it was a great variety of music too.
100%. Well, now that you've got this smart speaker, you'll be able to sit at home, chilling out, and say to your speaker, hey, speaker, play the Vision worship stream, and boom, it's going to play it for you.
That's fantastic because I don't have one, and I'm running it through my phone at the moment, so it'd be great to be able to just do that now.
Good on you, John. Well, thanks for entering the competition, and thanks for trialling the Vision worship stream for us, and thanks for being such a faithful Vision listener.
No worries. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to listen to you and all the stuff you guys do.
Oh, thank you. That was John Bradley, the winner of last week's Smart Speaker.
And guess what, Phil? There's going to be another winner this week.
That's very exciting. If you want to be in the draw to win, don't miss out. Go to vision.org.au/giveaway. Pop in some details and you'll be in the draw to win.
And it is a great prize. I mean, even I would like a smart speaker. I don't have one, Phil.
You don't have one?
I would like one, though.
Okay,
I won't be entering the competition just in case I win it, and people are saying there's a conflict of interest there, but it is just a great little prize. You can take it anywhere, and you can say, hey, smart speaker, play Vision worship stream. Boom, it just starts playing it for you.
It's amazing. So, get involved over at vision.org.au/worship or /giveaway. Both of those will get you there. But either way, get involved, and maybe we'll be calling you on Friday.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me Vision's breakfast show is now available around the clock and on demand? Incredible! The Rise and Shine podcast. Rise and Shine.
Are you ready for a challenge? Listen to the mystery sound, correctly name the Bible story, and win a great prize. Sounds easy, but is it? Rise and Shine's Bible Story Sound Off.
That's right. This is the game where you have to try and choose the Bible story and match it to the sound. Incredibly, we have this amazing technology, Andy.
I know, and you and Robbo drive it so well, or you fly it anyway.
Whatever it is. I'm just going to log in.
You work it really well.
Give me a second. It's nuclear powered, so got to be careful. Here we go. We don't let just anyone on.
Well, I'm not allowed to drive it.
Just breaking through the sound barrier now. Some of these people you might not want to meet.
I think that was Martin Luther. We just flew past him.
Oh, well, I don't mind meeting him. Here we go. We're going back through, and I think we're almost there. Now, over the weekend, I've had our Vision techs give us a bit more power, and they found a little more of the sound for us. This sound has been going for about a week now, and no one has got it yet.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough one.
I'm told that it's been designed by almost like a legend.
Well, it's almost Hollywood standard production. Yeah, the sound it's pretty amazing.
Let's hear a bit more of the sound. Oh, there was one more there. Okay, what could that be? Let's have another listen. Ooh. Still sounds like a washing machine to me, but there aren't a ton of them in the Bible.
Sounds like a TV, but they didn't have a TV in the Old Testament, did they?
Trying to tune it in.
Maybe they do have an Old Testament TV. I'm not sure.
Well, if you think so, give us a call. But this is what some of the guesses that we've had so far that it's not.
I'm going to say that they are the wheels of the chariot of the Ethiopian man as he's going through, and then it gets met by Philip.
I was thinking, is it when they were all gathered outside Lazarus' tomb and Jesus raised him from the dead?
Maybe wind, tongues of fire coming on Pentecost,
Yeah, I think that it's the sound of the waves hitting the boat as Jonah's trying to escape.
Is it the stone rolling away from Jesus' tomb on his resurrection?
Moses floating in the river when he was a baby. I wonder whether maybe grinding of a millstone.
So those are a lot of incredible guesses. None of them right, but they're very good guesses.
And they're all good stories in the Bible too.
The Rise and Shine podcast.
Got Carol on the line. Carol, do you reckon you know what it is?
Yes, I think I know.
Okay.
It sounds like a stone being rolled away from a grave.
Oh, yes.
And it could be one of two stones. Well, there's Lazarus.
Yes.
Because the angel came down and rolled it away from Jesus' tomb. So I got two choices, so I better choose Lazarus because, no. not Lazarus. Jesus' tomb.
Jesus' tomb. Well, I mean, you couldn't have, that's never a wrong answer, except in this case, it is the wrong answer for this game, but it's the right answer in life. So thanks so much, Carol. Beautiful choices.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Carol.
Jenny in Tasmania, what do you think the sound might be?
Well, I was wondering if it was Ahab's chariot when he was coming down from the mountain.
Yes.
When Elijah sent him down from the mountain and the heavy rain was going to fall. So he had to leave the mountain quickly. So anyway, that's what I think it might be. Just the sound of the chariot wheels and the heavy rain coming.
Yeah.
Such a good guess.
Very good guess. And in fact, that could have been the sound because it was a story that I had thought would be quite good. But it's not this one. But you're very, very warm, Jenny. Well done.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, well done. So there are some more wonderful guesses there.
Yeah, I mean, I just love the Bible knowledge of our listeners, Fel. It's incredible.
The sound lives for another day. It'll be back tomorrow.
We're caffeinated and ready to face the day. This is Rise and Shine on Vision.
And it is the week of Go, Fel. We're calling it the week of Go.
Now, what does that mean, Andy?
Means that we are all about going into all the world and making disciples this week. And we want to hear your stories about how you've stepped out and actually shared your faith. Not just shine your light in a nice sense, but actually stepped out, reached out and spoken to someone.
That's right. And it comes from Matthew 28:19, where Jesus said, go into all the world, make disciples and go and share your faith, which is the crux of what we're doing here at Vision. So we've put the call out, 1-800-316-316. Have you got a story about sharing your faith or perhaps when someone shared it with you?
Yeah.
We've got Carol on the line. Carol, have you got a story for us?
Yes, I've got a lot of stories. There's several ways. Whenever I go out, I can talk to people. I'll just say, if I'm walking by someone, I might say, oh, I love your earrings or something like that. And it's an amazing how sometimes I'm just not even thinking I'm going to evangelize that person. It's just that I'm walking along and I might say something to someone and then they stop and then we chat and then they come to the Lord. Or there's other times where the Lord tells us, my sheep hear my voice and know it. So it took me a while to listen to the voice of the Lord when I was young. And now the Lord will speak to me. He'll say, I want you to go to Bankstown Sports Club. I've got someone I want you to talk to. So I don't know who the connection is. This is an example of recent time. And so I went to the bistro and took some food and I walked past and there was a gentleman there, two gentlemen. One looked pretty old, and don't forget I'm older, so she was a bit younger than me, but and I just said something and they said something to me and then I sat and had my meal. When they finished, they walked past me and just talked to me, and then I was halfway through my meal, but I got up and I just spoke to him about the Lord, both of them, and one of them walked away, and then the other man, who was not very well at all, and he had a carer, and he said, I told him, the gospel, and he said, when my mother died, I lost my faith. He said, and I've been asking God if he'd send someone to me to help me.
Isn't that wonderful? Thank you, Carol, for sharing. Amazing that there's a man who's been asking God to send someone. Carol was the one he sent?
Yeah, she was available. Someone once said years ago, the only reason the book of Acts was written was because the apostles acted. And we've all just got to step out sometimes, haven't we, Phil, and just do our best to share our faith.
Yeah, well, this week we would love to hear your stories of sharing your faith, whether it's on the back of some Aldi eggs or whether you're out in a restaurant telling people about Jesus. We'd love to hear what you've been up to. 1-800-316-316. And Andy, we've got the news headlines coming up, and then about half an hour from now, we're going to have a wonderful singer, Jason Gray. Now, Jason's an American singer. You probably recognise these songs of his. Do you recognise that one?
Yeah, good song.
And here's another one. And Jason also is releasing a kid's book, which is super encouraging because he actually has, which most people don't tell because you don't hear it when he sings, a speech impediment. And so this story is all about encouraging families and kids who are in the same situation to be brave.
100%. Or even if you just don't feel like you're able to do something like sing or speak in front of a crowd of people, Jason just proves that you can overcome any challenge and actually do what God's called you to do.
Oh.
It's the daily podcast of your favourite Aussie breakfast show, Rise and Shine. Rise and Shine.
And it's great to be spending Monday morning with you right the way across the country, and particularly if you're listening along in Murrayville, one of our vision towns in Victoria. It's right near the South Australian border, Andy, only about 22 k's east of the border. So if you can imagine, that's where it is. And the origin of the name was after Premier of Victoria, John Murray. So he was named in his honour in about 1910.
He's a good man.
All
good
Murray's
name.
a good man.
Solid name. Solid man.
I'm saying that because my husband's name is Murray. So I thought if you were Murray in Murrayville, then you're obviously well named.
And if you're just joining us, Murray and Fel are celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary tomorrow.
Yes.
So after this little break now, Fel, I'm going to be asking you guys all about how you met, how you fell in love, and finding out a little bit about your 25 years of marriage.
Oh, well, I'm a bit concerned about that, but I'm game. But look, the weather in Murrayville today is about 10 degrees, heading up to 31 degrees, and we're so glad you're part of the Vision family.
That is a big change from 10 to 31 in one day, isn't it?
You're like wearing a puffer jacket in the morning and swimming by the afternoon. So there you go, Murrayville, a weather for everyone.
Nice bit of variation there. Well, I'm in Isaiah chapter 45, and the next verse is in verse 9. It says, "Woe to him who strives with his maker. Shall the clay say to him who forms it, 'What are you making?' Or shall your handiwork say, 'He has no hands'?" And obviously that's all about us wrestling as humans, Fel, with God and his will and his purpose for our lives. So that's the imagery that Isaiah was using there, that how can the clay say to the potter, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Oh, there you go. It is interesting, isn't it? Because we don't use a lot of clay anymore.
I wish we did.
Would you?
I used to love doing clay in art and craft in high school, didn't you? I used to love doing the wheel and making little bowls and stuff. It was fun.
I wasn't very good at that, but it's good to try everything at high school. If you're in high school today, be blessed that you get to try all these odd things that the rest of your life you never do again.
All these odd things, yeah. I think I made a little a fruit bowl-y thing. I think my mum had it for years and years and years. It probably got broken somewhere along history, but it feels good when you make stuff, Phil.
It surely does. And look, in about half an hour from now, someone who makes wonderful music will be with us. His name is Jason Gray. He's written so many wonderful songs that you might be familiar with, things like this. We play them on Vision all the time. And he's got a wonderful story about being brave in the midst of some challenging times. And so we're going to be talking to him about a brand new children's book, which he's releasing.
Looking forward to that in about half an hour. But before that, I'm looking forward to talking to you and Murray about your 25 years of marriage, Phil.
You found the podcast of Vision's breakfast show, Rise and Shine. Rise and Shine.
Up on me, you never gave up on me.
That's the Afters, You Never Gave Up on Me. That's quite a fitting song, actually.
It is, Fel, because we're talking about never giving up right now. If you're just joining us, Fel and her husband Murray are celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary tomorrow. We've made the call. Murray, Superman at home with the kids, getting the girls ready for school, has answered the phone. Murray, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning.
And look, we've got a bit of theme music, babe.
Oh, come on, turn it up, Phil. Turn it up.
Andy's found us some theme music for the day.
Feel it, Murray, feel it.
I'm swinging my hips.
So am I.
So if you're listening along, it is our 25th wedding anniversary tomorrow.
Sure is, Fel. And I want us to spend a little bit of time just talking about that and celebrating that with you, because in the modern world, especially in the Western world, unfortunately, it's getting more and more rare, isn't it, for people to stay married a long time. So I want to say to you, Murray, and you, Fel, well done for your 25 years.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I do a lot of weddings, Murray. I do about one a week, sometimes two. And I always start every wedding with this question: what is your love story? And we always start by asking the couple to tell us their love story. So I'm going to ask you guys the same question right now. Tell me your love story. And you're the man, Murray, so I'm going to get you to go first. Tell me your love story about how you met and how you fell in love with Fel.
Well, I you know what? I'd actually heard of Felicia before I even met her. So I was actually over in the States. I was going through Bible college, living over there for a couple of years, and I was I'd always planned to come back and help the local church that I was involved with before I left. But when I left to go to America, my local church had actually moved from one side of the country to the other. So it moved from the West Coast to the East Coast, believe it or not. So I thought, right, I need to go back and help the local church and get involved and all that sort of thing. And I remember hearing about this young lady called Felicia there, who was in the band and was involved in all sorts of things. Actually worked at the church there and whatnot. So I'd heard about her before I even got there. So I actually met Felicia for the very first time at a Sunday morning church service. And I remember walking into the service because my best mate was actually the pastor's son. So we were kind of hanging in the green room to start with. We sort of walked in probably halfway through praise and worship for the church service that morning. And I saw this young lady. Actually, there were two young ladies up on stage at the time. One was playing saxophone and the other one was playing the flute. And particularly the flutist caught my eye, which happened to be my lovely wife, Fel. And, sat down. I honestly couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in the service or what the message was about or anything like that. But I do remember as clear as if it was yesterday, after the service, because myself and my mate, the pastor's son, were sitting on the front row, and straight after the service, I remember Felicia, clear as day, walking down the steps to the podium, making a beeline for me, and saying, "Hi, you must be Murray, I'm Felicia." And she shook my hand very officially.
It was a good firm handshake, was it, Murray?
It was a good firm handshake. She looked me in the eye. She looked straight through my soul, to be honest. and look, to be honest, we started hanging out from there, and things turned very quickly into the greatest love story ever told.
Oh, well, it is the greatest love story in your life, Murray, isn't it?
done.
It's the
right.
love story. That's a great story. You met in church. What a great place to meet. So, Fel, I want to ask you your version of events now. So tell me your version of the love story.
Oh, well, I'll have to take less time. So we've got time for great Jason Gray later in the hour. But very, very similar. I had actually heard of Murray, but I decided I was definitely not interested before I even met him. I was like, no, I'm not.
In men or Murray?
Well, just I was waiting for God's man. I was at Bible school and I was a year in and definitely praying. And a youth leader had actually told me to pray for your future husband. So I'd been praying for this man of God, whoever he might be, for that whole year at Bible school as I walked along the beach. And then as Murray walked in, he was in a suit. And look, that did help, babe. You did look fantastic. It walked in a suit and sat in the front. And I was like, actually, this does seem to be the man that God has for me. And he was quite right. I walked off the stage, said hello, and it didn't take long. His friend, who was the pastor's son, they were heading off. And so he put Murray in his job and I was working for him at the time. So within a couple of weeks, I was doing banking with Murray and they'd made sure that we had lots of time together, didn't they? We didn't have much of a chance. I think I was smitten very, very early on.
So he's suited and booted. You've seen him in the service and you're thinking, man, he's fine. He's
trained up.
fine.
He's trained up and ready to go.
No, it's a good story. So it sounds like there's a bit of a Naomi nudge there from some of the church leaders orchestrating some quality time together, huh?
Yeah, it was, but it did work and it was very clear. And I would say that from very early on, I really felt this is the man that God has been preparing for me. And throughout this 25 years, I would say, even during the hard times, that word from God is what has held me through because I know that Murray was made for me.
Yeah, I actually love your story, guys. I love that you're praying, that you were waiting on God and that you met in church. Awesome.
Always encouraging and always fun. Rise and shine on Vision.
And now I want to ask you, Murray, what were 3 qualities about Fel that really drew you to her in those early days?
In the early days, which seemed like only yesterday, babe. One thing that I think that everyone can see in Fel is just her incredible level of friendliness and love that she puts out to anyone and everyone, to be honest. In fact, I can remember once we were driving along many, many years ago. In fact, I don't even think we were married yet, but we'd just been to the shops and we bought some groceries and whatnot. And she saw someone that she kind of knew who she was, but she didn't really know her, just walking along the street. And she said, "Must pull car over." So she pulled the car over and she proceeded to say hello to this lady that she didn't know very well. And then she popped the boot open and grabbed out the hot barbecue chicken that we were about to have for lunch that day and just gave her a chicken. So she could eat, that day. So look, her love and her friendliness is unlike anyone that I've ever met, to be honest. And her love for God is just something that makes her very attractive to everyone that knows her, and particularly, obviously raising a family with Felicia, having that God-centered mindset, and just getting God involved in everything that we do, our marriage and the kids and all that sort of jazz, just really makes for a really strong foundation for success.
That's awesome, Mary.
That's beautiful. Thanks, darling.
Now, Phil, I'm turning the spotlight onto you. What were the three things, besides the fact that he had an amazing suit on the first Sunday you met him, what were the three things that drew you to Murray?
Oh, very good. Well, I do think he is and still was and he is still very handsome, so that's important.
Yep.
But I won't put that as number one. Number one was, honestly, I wanted a godly man who believed the same as me. So he had just invested in going to America for 2 years. You have to save huge amounts of money to be able to do that. He'd worked 2 jobs to be able to go, spend 2 years just investing in his faith. That to me was incredibly attractive because I knew, and it's the case, that when we come up across things in life that are unknown, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is the word of God. And that's so important because you don't want someone who's just going to waver in that moment. I need someone standing beside me who the first thought is, what does God say about this? And you've been like that for the whole 25 years, babe, and that I find so important. But on the other side, he's super fun. So he made me laugh from the first day, silly jokes, but just we have fun together. And that's always been so crucial. And I think that's one of the keys to a successful marriage is that you can have fun together. We're not that serious, are we, at home, babe? I think the kids, we often say you guys have a very unusual life because we are silly most of the time. But I think that's been really important in our marriage as well.
Awesome. So he was fine, he had faith, and he's fun. The 3 Fs. It's all about the 3 Fs for Phil. So, okay, Mary, so now we're going to fast forward 25 years later. What are the 3 things that just make you love Phil so much today, Mary?
Look, I think the same, to be honest. Felicia is the same now, 25 years down the track, or even longer, probably 26 and a half years down the track from when I first met her. She's exactly the same. She's got the light of life. She's got that spark that makes people laugh. She's got this ability to be able to connect to anyone on any level, and really to show a genuine interest in them as well, and just really to love on them, and people really respond to that. And I'm just a blessed man on this planet that gets to actually live with it 24/7 and experience that in our family life as well.
Oh,
look at that. Beautiful. And Phil, would you say your 3 have changed, or are they the same 3 that were there 25 years ago?
No, probably even more so, to be honest. Because I think now his faith and his ability to command the word of God is we've got 25 years of growth in that, right? And so we've been able to see God come through time and time again. So exactly the same, but on even more. I just think it's grown over the years. So the fun's increased, the silliness has probably increased, but certainly the faith as well, the ability to believe God, because we've walked through so many things together. I think today that ability to say, hey, God did that before, he's done these, the lion and the bear, we've killed those. So when something else comes, we know that together we can stand through it. So it's pretty special.
Awesome.
So does that mean that I'm funnier now than ever, babe?
Well, I think it's recorded now, so you better hold it against me.
I'll ask your kids that, Mary, what your dad jokes are like out of 10. We'll give you a rating. But
I must admit, I'm a little bit like Matt Prater. I don't mind rolling out the odd dad jokes every now and then. I was doing it at church on Sunday, actually.
Yeah, well, you know what? I just want to say on behalf of all of our listeners today, congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Enjoy the day tomorrow, whatever you do, have fun. And let's hold you to this. I'm going to interview you again in 25 years when you hit the big 5-0, because that's a big one, Murray, the big 5-0.
I'll be ready.
We'll be ready for it. We'll know the questions ahead of time.
Well, have a super day. Congratulations again. God bless. And I know everyone joins me right now. We say God bless this day tomorrow and bless the next 25 years of this wonderful relationship between Murray and Fel.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. Love you guys.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everybody.
Love the Rise and Shine podcast? Tell a friend today.
And we're excited because we're just starting to connect, Andy, over the line to Jason Gray while we wait for him to connect. He's an incredible singer, isn't he?
Yeah, in case anyone hasn't heard of Jason Gray, Phil, let me ask you, who is Jason Gray?
Well, you might know some of his songs. Here's one of them. You know that one, Andy?
Yeah, plays on Vision all the time. I love it.
Here's another one.
Yeah, know that one.
You know that one? And this one. Beautiful song. Now, Jason's toured with Jeremy Camp, Sanctus Real, Matthew West, Big Daddy Weave, The Afters. He's an award-winning artist, and we love his songs. His song Sparrows, which is this one, talks about not worrying. It's about that verse in the Bible, that passage where it talks about, hey, if God looks after the birds, how much more will he look after you?
And you know, Phil, everyone's got a story and everyone has to face different challenges. And the amazing thing about Jason is he was actually born with a speech impediment and he hasn't let that stop him. And he's an amazing singer. He's writing books. He's US based. He is an American artist and he's going to join us on the line right now.
Well, we're very excited to have Jason Gray on the line. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning. It's early. It's early for you guys, as I
It is early for us, but it's not for you. Where are you today?
Today I am in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh, beautiful.
Doesn't that sound nice?
It does. Probably a bit chilly
That
for you.
does sound nice, doesn't it? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we're having a chat to you because you've released a new book, a children's book, which I have to admit made me cry last night, Jason. It was just beautiful. It's called Sparrows, based on the song that you've also released, which we love here in Australia, Sparrows. Can you tell us a bit about the book?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I've been, and also I should explain for anyone who's not familiar with me. I do have a speech handicap known as stuttering. There it is, right there, which comes into play in the book. You know, but I've wanted to write a children's book for a number of years, and we finally got around to doing it last year. I got to partner with my new friend Jess Waller, who's a gifted writer of children's books, and so she really helped me. You know, it's interesting. The language. I'm also working on a book of devotional essays for all of the songs I've ever released. And I'm also working on a memoir, and I write songs. And the language for like a memoir and a devotional essay book is very different from songwriting language, is very different from children's book language, you know. And so Jess was a wonderful person to collaborate with, and I learned a lot, you know. So I've always wanted to do a children's book, and Sparrows seemed like, you know, it's a song that resonated with a lot of people over the years, and has especially seemed to resonate with children. And so we thought, you know, let's do a book based on the song, you know. And the main character in the book, the protagonist, is a little girl named Ellie, and she also has a speech handicap, and she is she's learning how to navigate two bullies in her life. There's a girl at school who teases her about her speech, and she's very nervous about that. But she's also having to battle the bully of anxiety in general. And the book is about how she learns how to overcome both of those. So with trust,
it's beautiful,
and with kindness.
And it is incredible, and trusting in God. When I read the book, and I was just so touched. You can see Ellie moving through, and she has this speech impediment, and you can tell Jason, like, it is real. She's in the classroom sitting next to the bully in this situation, Annabelle, and having to deal with that in life. Is that something that you experienced growing up with a speech impediment, Jason?
Yeah, you know, I got teased a little bit about my speech in school. doesn't take much, though, right?
No.
It only takes a little bit to make you self-conscious and feel like I never want to feel that again. And so I was the kid, there was a movie a number of years ago called The King's Speech.
Yes.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I love that movie.
And it was about the king. I can't remember which one he was, but he had a stutter and had to give a very important speech at a critical time in the history of England during the war. And the actor who played him, Colin Firth, when he was interviewed about how he prepared for his role, he said, I was less interested in mimicking the mechanics of stuttering, and I was more interested in portraying a person who had things to say and he couldn't get it out. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. That's exactly what it felt like all my life, especially when I was a kid. I was hesitant. I had things I wanted to say. Obviously, I write songs. I'm working on books, right? I had things in me I wanted to say, but I was afraid to raise my hand, because of the embarrassment or being singled out. So that part of it is autobiographical in that way,
Just the right mix of things to inspire and things to make you smile. Rise and shine on Vision.
That is Jason Gray, Sparrows, the song that inspired the book that we're talking to Jason Gray about now. He's on the line.
Jason, obviously you found that when you sing, the stutter isn't there anymore. How old were you when you discovered that you had a voice through singing? Because some of the parents listening to this show right now may have a child with a stutter as well. So what age were you when you realized that?
Yeah, it is weird, right? Like I can sing, but I can't speak fluently, which means, I guess I could sing everything all the time, but I think that would be more awkward than the actual speech handicap.
I think that'd be pretty cool, actually.
This guy thinks he's in a musical or something. I'm trying to think of when I don't have a memory of really like a aha moment, but I do remember I used to live with my grandparents when I was a little kid, and they loved an American TV show called Hee Haw. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
Australia, but it was like a variety show that featured a lot of like bluegrass and country music. And I believe one of the guests that they had on there was a country singer from the U.S. named Mel Tillis. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. A classic country artist, and he had a speech handicap, and it would go away when he would sing. So I remember identifying with him, and that's probably where I first began to put together, like, oh yeah, like I could. It goes away when I sing too,
It's funny, you said, if you're in a musical, you'd be okay. I have heard some Hebrew scholars say that in the Garden of Eden, they believe God and Adam would sing to each other as a form of communication. So, you joke about that, but maybe that's what God's original plan was. Yeah, that maybe we're supposed to live in a semi-musical. We'll find out in heaven. Maybe that was the way Adam and Eve used to roll with God. We're not sure, but some Hebrew scholars say there's an inference in the language that God would sing to Adam and Eve.
That's beautiful. I was on the plane once with a friend of mine who is now the guitarist for Need to Breathe. I don't know if you if you guys know that.
Yeah.
And he's from Minneapolis, Minnesota as well, which is where I'm from in that area. He was asking me about the speech thing, and I said, yeah, and it goes away when I sing, and a lot of people speculate that has to do with breathing, because you automatically breathe properly when you sing. And I was kind of explaining some of the ideas behind that, and he smiled at me and said, that, or maybe it just means we were born to sing. We were meant to sing. And I always thought that was beautiful, and you just gave a little bit of credence to that idea, actually. So that's beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Jason. Stay on the line. We might listen to some more Jason Gray music, and on the other side, I want to ask you, Jason, about worship in your local church.
And isn't it amazing, Phil, how many great singers and artists have actually come out of a worship band in a local church?
I've heard of all-day breakfast on the menu. But here's a Brekkie show available 24/7. Thanks for streaming the Rise and Shine Daily podcast.
And Jason, we're loving this, but I wonder, can you tell us about the role of worship in the local church?
You know, I was having a conversation this week about one of the things that is valuable for worship and for a congregation on a Sunday morning is that you walk in the door and the week that you've had has done its worst to make you numb and disconnected from your own heart because of all the constant demands and then when you sing a love song to God, it can reconnect you to your affection for God. It can reconnect you to your own like tenderness and the core of who you are. So I see a value in that. I also think of that, like, I would say that that's what worship does for me. In terms of like, if I'm directing it toward God, if the goal of worship is to bring glory and honor and pleasure to God, it seems like that happens more when I'm worshiping with the way that I live my life, when I care for the poor, when I, in this book I'm working on, I tell the story of, there's a camp that I've done the music and the speaking at for the last 28 years, every summer. And once we were out there and it was the end of the week and the whole staff was having the end of the week meeting in the gazebo down by the lake. And we're talking, and I had a 5-year-old at the time. His name was Gus. He was 5 years old, and he's down the boardwalk playing a little bit, and he's playing with the camp director's daughter. Her name is Josie, and she's sweet and gentle and delicate, and my little boy Gus is more rough and tumble, and so like I'm keeping an eye on him to make sure he doesn't try out any Jedi kung fu moves on delicate little Josie, and I'm a little bit anxious because he can be that way, like he can be very active and forget himself in his own enthusiasms and exuberance, right? So I'm keeping an eye on him and ready to intervene if I need to. So that's my state of mind. And so imagine my delight and my surprise when I see that there's a breeze coming in off the lake, and it's kind of cold, and Josie is kind of complaining of being cold. You can see it, and imagine my relief and delight and pride when my little boy, who I want to make sure he's not going to like hurt Josie, instead takes off his little jacket and gives it to her. And that brought me such pleasure as a dad. And the other people that I was in the staff meeting with, they saw it happen. And so that makes me look good as a dad, right? Like wow, you've raised an exceptional young boy, right? It brings his dad glory. So in that moment, he brought me pleasure and glory just by the way he conducted himself, And so I tend to think that my most significant worship, insofar as it's directed to God and its intention is to bring him glory and honor and pleasure, that happens in the way that I live my life, like when I care for the poor, when I'm patient and kind with, like in the story of the book, Sparrows, the bully, Annabelle, she's awful to Ellie. And but as the story progresses, we learn, Annabelle's got some really scary, painful things happening at home. And Ellie becomes aware of that. and responds to the bullying with kindness and with compassion and generosity. And that turns the tide, right? And that can happen in our lives too. There's a quote I love from the Scottish preacher from the 1890s, Ian McLaren. He said, "Be kind, because everyone you meet is in a hard battle." And I think that when we conduct ourselves that way, I think that brings God pleasure and glory and honor, and so I see that as my meaningful worship.
So good to listen to a little bit of your story, Jason, and just so encouraging that God's given you a voice through singing and now through writing, and you've just proven that God can do His will regardless of sometimes our own human frailty. So what a pleasure and an honor to hear a little bit of your story today.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Take care.
Oh, thank you so much. How great is it chatting to Jason?
Yeah, and like I said, Phil, obviously when he talks, he struggles sometimes to get his words out, but when he sings, God just uses his voice so wonderfully. It's a really good story.
Yeah, and if you would like to check out the book that he's written, it's a kid's book called Sparrow, so it's based on this little song that he's written as well. Just to remind you, that's the song, and there's a kid's book that's written along the same lines. You can head over to his website, jasongraymusic.com/sparrow. So that's jasongraymusic.com/sparrows. It's a beautiful book, beautifully illustrated, and a wonderful message of bravery.
Yeah, a good one for the kids. And obviously Jason's childhood was not easy, and he can really relate to kids. And, kids can struggle with lots of different things, not just speech impediments. There's all sorts of challenges. And there's a man who overcame his childhood challenges to just be the person that God wanted him to be.
Subscribe and listen to the Rise and Shine podcast in the free Vision app. It's easy and available everywhere.
It's lovely to be spending Monday with you right the way across the country, including Collinsville in Queensland.
Collinsville?
Now, I'm looking for people who live in towns with their names. Surely there's a Colin in Collinsville, for sure.
You'd hope so.
You would hope so. Well, Collinsville, if you're wondering where it is, it's in the northern Queensland area, Whitsunday region, sort of inland from Airlie Beach, if you can imagine where that is. Go inland and you'll get to Collinsville. Listening along on 87.6 FM. Your weather today, 26 degrees right now, heading up to 37 degrees during the day, and looks like a beautiful part of the world. So a big hello, particularly if you're named Colin. I'd love you to give us a call because I think that's kind of fun.
100%. Well, Phil, we are in Isaiah chapter 45. I'm going to jump to verse 11, and it says this: "Thus says the Lord, the Holy One of Israel and his Maker, ask me of things to come concerning my sons and concerning the work of my hands. You command me."
Oh, I like that. There is something in that, isn't there? That there is God commands us to ask, actually to open our mouths and to say something to him. Ask me about the future. Ask me about the work of my hands. And he says, yeah, I'll tell you. It's not a secret.
Yeah, and in the New Testament, Jesus said, the Holy Spirit will show us things to come. So we are entitled to ask God to show us, or at least give us a glimpse or an inkling about what the future holds for us
100%.
and the people around us.
Oh, I love that. I love that we have a verse at the top of every hour, Andy. Just beautiful. You know what else we're going to do this half hour?
Tell me, Phil, what?
Well, we are all about going into all the world, sharing our faith. I'm going to ask you about how you share your faith, Andy. Have you got something for us?
I got lots of stories, Phil.
Okay.
And just remember this, all my stories are true.
Okay.
But even if they're not true, they contain a truth that if you apply it, it'll change your life.
Well, hopefully it's true.
Great conversations and great friends. The Rise and Shine podcast.
All of us as humans and as Christians sort of don't really want to talk to people about Jesus. Let's be honest about it. There's a very small population that do, but the average Christian finds it hard. So what I found, Phil, is you just got to be open to it, and you've just got to kind of have an inner desire to want to share your faith. And it's amazing if you want to share your faith and you pray and ask God to use you, that opportunities do come up. And when they do, you've kind of just got to jump on them.
Right.
And not withdraw. So, I led a guy to the Lord years ago, and I was working in the city, and he opened up to me. I befriended him. He's like, I had this dream, and I don't know what it means. And he goes, and he told me the dream, and I just believed then and there that I could interpret dreams. I'd never done it before, and I said, you know what, mate, I know what it means. And I interpreted the dream for him, and it really got him interested. Long story cut short, he got saved. I was at a 21st birthday party, one of the young guys in my church. There was a young girl there who was a visitor there. She wasn't a Christian. She found out I was a pastor. She said, I really need a counselor right now. Do you do counseling? And you know what? I wasn't a counselor and I didn't do counseling. But you know what I said to her, Phil? Have a guess.
No, thanks. I'll just put you
I
in
said yes. I said, yes, I do counselling. Why don't you come to the church office?
Awesome.
And I'm happy to counsel you. And so I got two of the girls who worked in the office to be there that day. It was like 5 p.m. when the office was closing. They sat around the corner because I don't believe in being alone with a woman I don't know. And we're around the corner. I set up a little counselling booth and she sat there and poured out a little heart to me. She was going through some significant challenges. Domestic violence, all sorts of horrible things. And I was able to lead her to Jesus. And I just saw her recently at Matt Prater's church. She's still a part of Matt Prater's church. And those are two examples, Phil, where when the opportunities was there, I just said yes.
Yes.
I wasn't a counselor. I wasn't a dream interpreter. But I just said yes. And I just trusted God to use me in that moment. And he did. And in both those cases, those people found faith in Jesus.
Oh, praise God. Well, we would love your story this morning. Andy, that is so encouraging, hearing about God using you and putting you in the right place at the right time. We would love your story to encourage other people as well. Give us a call, 1-800-316-316, or a text. Andy loves a text.
I love a text. I even love a Facebook message. But we want to hear your stories of go because it's all about go this week. We want to see more and more people become disciples in this great land of Australia.
Lots of laughs with lots of heart. The Rise and Shine podcast.
And we're coining it Go Week, Andy.
We are calling it Go Week because it's all about going into all the world and making disciples, Phil. And as part of our discipleship push, our CEO, Phil Edwards, sort of laid this out a few weeks ago that this year, Vision is all about making disciples or helping to make disciples.
That's right. So we have asked for your stories of how you were either saved and got to know Jesus or perhaps how you've been sharing your faith with others. And one of my favourite stories that I've heard at Vision is from Graham Holman. He's a legend of our Vision family living in WA. This is how he got saved.
On a wet, rainy Sunday, my then fiance said, why don't you come along to church because the go-kart track is closed because it's raining too hard. And I was preparing for state titles. And so that was my first time at church. And that was quite a harrowing experience, actually.
Harrowing is an
harrowing.
interesting word.
So keep in mind it was raining, right? So we went inside. We sort of got there early, met a couple of my now wife's friends, and went inside, found a pew, and they had the words up on the overhead with the little clear projector. You know, the words upside down, and they said the lamb has been slain, his blood for us. You know, and I'm thinking, oh my
what
goodness.
is going on?
Anyway. So I'm looking around, I'm like, why isn't anybody else startled by these words? And so I'm like, okay, well there's the door I just came in and there's two guys standing on the door. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to get past them if they're going to shut the door. So I see a side door and I'm like, I could at least climb over these two old ladies to the left of me and I'll get out that way.
Like a safe exit.
Then to make it all worse, the pastor starts rolling this plastic sheeting out across the stage. No. And I've got scenes of the Godfather movie in there with these plastic sheets going out. And I'm thinking, he doesn't want the blood to land on the carpet.
No.
Right? And then the next sort of words come up, and it's like getting worse. You know, it's talking about his blood washes us whiter than snow, and I'm thinking they're going to drip blood on people, and of course it didn't happen. So I survived.
He survived going to church. It's a great memory for us, though, to remind us to be normal.
Yeah, it's a classic story of a complete unbeliever going into a church environment, and the church environment are using words that to an unsaved person do not make any sense. You know, the blood of the lamb and the sacrifice. And so, but it's also amazing, Phil, that even when we do not communicate in a great way and we use weird words and old-fashioned Bible words, that God still uses that and still gets people saved, because Graham is saved to this day. But the challenge is still real, Phil. I think we do need to use words that people can understand. I'm always trying to think, okay, this Bible word, does it make sense in the modern world? If it doesn't, I'm going to change the word and use a word with the same meaning that actually makes sense to someone.
Oh, I love that. It's very wise. We did get to ask Graham, what do you think is the key takeaway for someone who's new to church or going soon?
If you're new going to church this Sunday, be expecting for something that you're not expecting.
Yeah.
How come you went back? What was it that you said, you know, this was weird the first time, but you did obviously venture back?
So I wasn't saved, but my wife is very pretty. And I liked her integrity and lots of other things about her. And so I'm like, I'm in for the long haul. In fact, the first time I met her, which was only a few weeks before that, she was sitting on the floor crying, and all I could see was the back of her. And I'm thinking, this popped into my head, I'm going to marry that girl one day. And anyway, she thought the same thing straight. No, she didn't.
Brought to you by the generosity of Vision family members across Australia and around the world. The Rise and Shine podcast.
Rise and Shine's headline or deadline.
That's right. So this is a bit of a fun game where our news team, Tracy particularly today, is going to give us one true story and one piece of fake news. Andy, what's our job?
To detect what is the real news and what is the fake news, Fel.
How do you feel? Do you feel like you're pretty good at this, Andy? You can pick a fake?
So far, I've been pretty bad, to be honest with you. Because Tracy's so convincing when she says it. And some of our listeners may not know this. Tracy's a very accomplished newsreader. I think she worked at the ABC years ago. She's really good at her job. So when she reads something out, Phil, it just sounds believable.
It's very believable. But today, one of the stories that Tracy reads is going to be true and the other one is false. So listen along carefully. And if you think you can pick it, you can give us a call and there'll be a prize. Tracy, what are your stories?
Good morning. With a Rise and Shine headline or deadline, I'm Tracy Weir. Which is the headline and which is the deadline? A PhD student wins an award for creating a robotic hand which can play the piano, or a student receives a standing ovation in Carnegie Hall for playing the national anthem on a recorder.
Now, I was in a recorder band growing up, so that could happen.
I'm just trying to imagine that. I also played a recorder. I think everyone in my primary school had to play a recorder.
Yes.
Playing the national anthem of America on a recorder.
Da, 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 da. Maybe. It'd be tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable, and we all know the Americans are very patriotic, so I think no matter how good or bad that sounded, he would have got a standing ovation anyway, because they just love their anthem and they love their flag. I mean, I do like that about Americans. They're so patriotic.
Well, let's have a listen to the stories again, just in case you missed them.
A student receives a standing ovation in Carnegie Hall for playing the national anthem on a recorder, or a PhD student wins an award for creating a robotic hand which can play the piano.
There we go. So do you think it's a robotic hand that can play the piano, or do you think it's a recorder rendition of the American national anthem? The choice is yours. You need to give us a call, though.
Yeah, on 1-800-316-316. I'm just visualising also, I can see that bionic hand playing the keyboard as well, Phil. So, look, it's got me stumped. They're both very plausible. Very plausible.
We're caffeinated and ready to face the day.
This is Rise and Shine on Vision.
And we've got Luke on the line. Luke, what do you think?
Oh, I'm going to say the headline is the robotic hand for sure. Thanks for taking my call, guys, and please let me win. I need a win in life.
Okay, well, this is your choice.
Headline or deadline, you've chosen the story. A PhD student wins an award for creating a robotic hand which can play the piano. That is this week's headline.
There you go, taking it out. That's
winner, chicken dinner.
You will be winning something from our prize cupboard, Luke. And also, we're going to let you choose the song today, the final song.
The curtain call.
Curtain call
a
song.
Double win.
What is your choice of the curtain call song? What's your favourite Christian song ever?
Well, since I just won, I'm going to say How Good the Lord Is by Kingdom Culture Worship.
Okay, well, we'll save that till the end of the show. But for now, Luke, do you want to hear about the winning story?
Yes, please, pretty please.
Okay, let me see. Here's the full story.
Headline or deadline, a PhD student wins an award for creating a robotic hand which can play the piano. A student won the award for creating a robotic hand which can play alongside a human. The robot uses machine learning to predict the appropriate piano chord progression based on a human's piano playing. Experiments demonstrated that a 93% accuracy rate involved the robot learning the chords inspired by pop music. Headline or deadline, a PhD student wins an award for creating a robotic hand which can play the piano.
Oh, well done, Luke. Very impressive.
Amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
Because Andy thought it was the recorder choice, didn't you?
I chose the recorder. You got to ask the question though, like, what does the hand do? Is it just sort of walk around on its own, or is it attached to something? Like, it's a bit scary, isn't it, Luke? These hands are going to evolve one day, and they're going to become Terminators. They're going to be chasing us everywhere, trying to shoot us and run us down in trucks.
No, they're not.
I've seen the movie, Fel. I've seen the movie.
So have I, and now you're giving me chills. It's the reality.
No, they're going to clean the bathroom, do the dishes, and play piano
and be
for
nice
us.
to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, well, Luke, thank you so much for jumping on and playing with us this morning. You're a winner.
Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, thank you, Luke. Well, that is how you play Headline or Deadline. It'll be back next Monday with a news story from the newsroom.
Yeah, Luke was a very good winner there because I got to be honest with you, Phil, I just couldn't imagine a robotic hand playing a piano.
You preferred the recorder playing the national anthem. Who doesn't love that idea? If you've got a recorder, in fact, our neighbours now are playing recorder, so we've been hearing it a lot at our house.
It's wafting over the fence, is it?
It is, and I'm thinking it might be sowing and reaping because our kids used to all play their music and instruments at the same time. We had a flute, a guitar, a trumpet and a violin. And I remember thinking at the time, that must be really hard on the neighbours. Well, we're getting a bit of recorder back our direction now.
It's the daily podcast of your favourite Aussie breakfast show, Rise and Shine. Rise and Shine.
And it's lovely to be spending Monday morning with you right the way across the country. And I'd like to give a shout out to one of our vision towns in WA. You're listening along on 87.6 FM. Beautiful coastal country town called Seabird.
Sounds nice, Phil.
It does sound nice. It was going to have a different name though, Andy. So the proposed name was going to be, this is back in the 1960s, Chalon. It was going to be named after the hometown of the popular botanist Jean-Baptiste Lechenault de la Tour.
Wow.
What a cool name.
Well pronounced, Phil.
Well, obviously I've been practicing that a lot.
How many years of high school French did you do?
0. I did German. Oh. Yeah, I loved it. And my kids will tell you, the main thing I remember is one poem I had to remember for a poetry competition, Hosentaschen von Otto Ullmann. I don't really remember what it means, but I remember the poem.
I love that. Say some more.
Oh, but Hosentaschen von Otto Ullmann. Jede Hose hat 2 Taschen. Taschenleute, die sind fein. If you know, let me know. I think it's about pockets.
Well done, Phil. Respect. I think I did 4 years of high school French and I know about 10 words. I average about 2 words a year retention rate.
It is it's nice to learn a language though. Look, if you're in Seabird today, gorgeous weather. You'd be off surfing there, Andy. 16 degrees, but heading up to 25 during the day.
Oh, that sounds like perfect weather. Well, speaking of perfect, we are in the Bible, Isaiah chapter 45. I'm going to jump ahead to verse 13. It says this, I've raised him up in righteousness and I will direct all of his ways. He shall build my city and let my exiles go free. Not for price nor reward, says the Lord of hosts. And that's obviously a prophecy about Jesus building the city, building the church, building the kingdom. And you know what I love about the Bible, Phil? There's 66 books in it, and Isaiah also has 66 books in it.
Does it?
And the first 39 chapters, not 66 books, 66 chapters,
Sure.
The first 39 chapters of Isaiah are kind of Old Testament-y in their messaging, but the last 27 chapters of Isaiah from 39 onwards are really New Testament in their themes and their messaging, and that's chapter 45, and that's a definite prophecy there that Jesus is going to come and build the city of God again.
Wonderful. I'm going to go and read it again now, Andy, with that in mind. Thank you.
Interesting. I mean, the Bible's just amazing that the whole book of Isaiah almost encapsulates the whole Bible.
Amazing. Well, we encourage you this morning, bring out your Bibles, or you can go onto apps like the Bible app if you don't have a Bible in your home. Have a read, Isaiah. There you go.
Yep, just read that one from the YouVersion app. Let's give the YouVersion app a big plug. Yes. It's an incredible story that a church that decided to give away a Bible app for free. They could have charged 50 cents, $1, but they said, no, we're going to bless the world. This is Craig Rochelle's church in the States, and I forget how many people have downloaded this app now, but even in Australia, I've read, I think more than 10 million people have downloaded the Bible app in Australia alone.
Amazing.
You found the podcast of Vision's breakfast show, Rise and Shine. Rise and Shine.
And Phil, we're doing something called Legacy Week where people can actually write their will for free thanks to Vision.
That's right. Having a will is so important. It can seem overwhelming and expensive. In fact, Andy, did you know that half of Australian adults don't have a written legal will?
50% of Aussies don't have a will. And guess what, Phil? Did you know that 100% of Australians will eventually die one day?
Will eventually need a will.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is an opportunity. If you're in that category and you've never got around to it, you can head over to vision.org.au/legacy. And on that page, you'll see that Vision's partnered with Australia's leading online will writing platform. It's called Safe Will. It's backed by an affiliate law firm, and you click through the links. And for this week, rather than costing $80, which it normally costs, for Vision supporters, there will be no cost at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's as free as the air of Scotland.
I suppose that is true.
Hey, it's a great deal. It's a great opportunity. And look, none of us want to pass away tomorrow. Obviously, my motto, Fel, in life is expect the best, but plan for the worst.
Okay.
Always have a plan. So, hey, sometimes things happen, Phil, and we end up in heaven quicker than we thought we would. And it is a good idea to have a will, because if you don't, from what I know, your estate ends up in the public office, and there's all this hassle for your relatives to sort of access the money, and no one knows who gets what. So I think it's just wise for all of us, knowing that eventually we're all going to go to eternity, to have all of our stuff set up.
So if you'd like some help, this week is probably a good week to get on board. The free link will be up until next Monday. So you've got an entire week to jump onto vision.org.au/legacy to get involved.
Subscribe and listen to the Rise and Shine podcast in the free Vision app. It's easy and available everywhere.
Tell us your favourite song by calling 1800 316 316 and we'll play it for you. It's the Curtain Call on Rise and Shine.
That's right. This is the time of the show where you get to choose one song to take us into the day. We call it the Curtain Call, and today we've given that privilege to Luke, the winner of the Headline or Deadline game.
Since I just won, I'm going to say How Good the Lord Is by Kingdom Culture Worship.
A great song, Andy.
It is a good song, and it comes out of a church in a place called Caboolture, and this particular song, Phil, has had more than 2 million listens on Spotify.
Wow, we're going to listen to it now. Thanks to Luke, How Good the Lord Is by Kingdom Culture Worship.
The Rise and Shine podcast.
That is How Good the Lord Is. That's the live version by Kingdom Culture Worship. Going out to our winner of Headline or Deadline, Luke. Well done, and a great pick there for our curtain call.
Yeah, that was his request, and it is a very good song. And as I said earlier, that church in Caboolture, that particular song's had more than 2 million listens.
Amazing, amazing. Well, look, it is time for us to say goodbye and leave you with the rest of the Vision crew for today. I will be handing over to Robbo tomorrow. It'll be the 2 Andrews again. So that'll be interesting. Always lots of fun when there's 2 Andrews in the room.
Well, we'll call ourselves Robbo and Andy. But, Fel, you have a nice day off tomorrow. And, looking forward to the show tomorrow. We'll be joined by AJ Spur tomorrow as well, who's also going to tell us her ghost stories about how she goes into all the world and make disciples. That is our theme for the week, Fel, and I'm really looking forward to hearing all the stories this week.
Well, whatever you're up to today, we pray it's a wonderful Monday, and we'll see you soon on Rise and Shine.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.